Hello, I'm Danielle Mercurio, and for a really long time, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to be Danielle Mercurio. Because when I was a little girl, when I thought of the notion of being a grown-up, of being an adult, I felt this greatness inside of me. I felt this ability that I was going to be someone that would interact with people, that I would be someone on stage engaging with others, that I would be someone sharing my greatness so that they could feel great too. And at a young age, I couldn't really understand what that meant. I thought maybe it meant being an actress, but that didn't feel right either, because being an actress meant I would be sharing somebody else's words. I'd be sharing somebody else's story. And I knew it had to be my story. But unfortunately, while I was growing up, because of other people's stories and what they believed, I lost sight of my own. I tried to explore the idea of, I want to be great, I want to be on stage, I want to help people. But other people's stories told them to tell me, don't bother doing that. That's too big. That's too unmanageable. If you want to go that far, it's probably not likely. So why don't you stay safe? Why don't you find something where you'll get by and you'll be okay? And so my story no longer became my story. My story became a mix of everyone else's stories that they once inherited from other people's stories. And I spent my teenage years into college, getting to the point of adulthood, feeling so confused, so lost, so mixed with everyone else's stories, and trying to write the chapters that they were indicating to me, trying to find my fit based on what everyone else said, trying to meet that timeline that society kind of pushes at us. And I found that by doing that, I was becoming more stuck, and I was feeling like I was living a life where I was just getting by. I was just coasting, I was just pleasing people. And eventually, when I would wake up in the morning, my prayer would be, God, just get me through today. Please, just get me through today, get me through pleasing everyone and making sure they're happy and you know, making ends meet. Just get me through today. And so God, as good as he is, he would get me through the day. But then at night I would forget to ask him. And so instead I would reach for things outside of me too, to escape from being the helper, to escape from not having my life figured out. And so I would reach for substances, I would reach for men, I would reach for any opportunity to black out from my experience because I felt so disconnected from my internal one. And then again in the morning I would wake up, not remembering much of what happened the night before, but I would ask God to get me through the day. He would. And then every night I'd go back to my blackout tendencies. And it wasn't until about 7 years ago that I got to the place where I literally was on my knees, for reasons we won't mention why. And I realized in that moment that this is not how I want my life to go. He probably isn't going to call me the next day. And I needed to do something with my life. I needed to figure out what my internal story was. And the guy did not call me the next day. So I called a therapist instead. And I started to work on myself. I started to find tools like meditation. I started to work with the notion of, who was that little girl that said, Danielle, you're so great. Danielle, you're going to help people. You're not going to do everything for them. You're not going to try to please them. You're not going to move through your life just staying safe because they're telling you to. But you're going to do something else. You're going to give them an opportunity to explore their inner greatness too. Let's start to explore that together. And through tools like meditation, through tools like starting to learn the notion, the idea that I could be my own best friend, that I could meet myself where I'm at, that I could not become my own enemy, but my own ally. And so the more I started to befriend myself, the more I started to realize, oh, this is what it's all about. I've got to get in touch with my story. I've got to get in touch with that voice inside of me that has always felt right, but I never thought it was right because I was dealing with this space up here. Because we all have a mind, and minds are great. We need a mind. We need a mind to know not to step out into the street when a bus is coming. We need our mind to remind us, Your bill needs to be paid. Go pay that bill, right? We need the mind to help us with the logistics of our everyday life because we are a human and we do have an outside world to live in. And so the mind does help us with that. But what the mind can't help us with is this notion of what our inner desires are and what our dreams are and what our inner deep knowing voice has to say. It's not meant to navigate through that. What it's meant to do is just help us with our day-to-day. And so once we kind of get a flow with our day-to-day and we get that momentum going, we can stop. Because otherwise we're going to start to judge, we're going to start to compare, we're going to start to get confused again around everyone else's stories and how they compare to our own. And so we take the mind, we appreciate the work that it does for us, and then we put it to the side. We say, mind, you go take a retreat. I'm going to go to soul camp, you hang back, watch reality television, order takeout, have a good old time. I'm going to connect with my soul. Because our soul is this beautiful gateway to something greater. We feel something greater because it has direct access to our something greater. And whatever that may be for you, God, source, higher power, cosmos, right? Ryan Gosling to some people. Whatever that higher energy is, right? That's a great thing to bow down to. We can connect to that energy because it is the gateway to our inner higher truth, our inner greatness. And so we take the time to explore that. We can take the time to say, this is what I desire. And a beautiful thing will happen. When we take the mind out of it, we're not relying on our own strength anymore. We're not relying on our own ability to try to control. Instead, we allow this really juicy co-creation to start to happen. About 9 months ago, I was living in New York City. I had eventually gotten to the point where I was able to leave my corporate job and do coaching, astrology, speaking full time, tapping into my inner greatness, inspiring others to find theirs too. And I was feeling like New York wasn't conducive for me anymore, like the way I thought. Of course, my mind thought it was great. Stay where you are. You've got a rent stabilized apartment. You know people. You've got the flow down. You've got community. You're safe. Stay where you are. But my inner knowing voice said, no. New York isn't for you anymore. It's time to move on. It's time for you to expand. You need space. So again, my mind was like, okay, well, if you're going to move, let's move. Let's do this. Let's get it done. Let's find the apartment. And trying to control, trying to figure everything out. And I just kept hearing, you don't have to figure it all out. You just have to go. So I found a friend that took over the lease of my apartment. I put my things in storage and I headed out to California. I had an Airbnb in Laguna Beach where I stayed for a couple months. And then when that couple months was over, I was in a space where the universe was going to be my travel guide. And it was going to be the one to take me on adventures because I knew that in my space of being someone that is here to serve, being someone that is doing the work that comes through me and sharing it out, I needed to be taken care of. I needed to know that my standards that I feel for a comfortable lifestyle had to be met. And so I was like, universe, we're going to try something out. You're going to take care of me, and I'm going to take care of people in a way that feels aligned to that inner greatness. And that we did for about 5 more months. I was taken to places all over California, Tennessee, South Carolina. I have a random following in Oklahoma. My Oklahomies, I love you. Been there 3 times this year. And so it took me to all these different places. And no matter what, I always had a bed. And it was always in a place that felt aligned with my standards. And I felt comfortable. And I was able to do the work that I loved. And then later this summer, I got to a space where I was starting to feel that connection to wanting some groundingness again, wanting a home, wanting a place with my things. And so I was led to Redondo Beach, where I currently am now, and I truly love it. But before I left, I was like, I need one more adventure. I need one more gypsy, just me and the universe, like on the road doing an adventure. And Santa Barbara was a place that has been on my list for a while, and I hadn't gotten to it yet. And it felt appropriate to go at that time. So I took my new car. She's a Jetta and her name is Gypsetta, and we go on our gypsy adventures together. And we hit the road. And Santa Barbara is a really beautiful area because you have the ocean and the waves, and you have the mountains. And the mountains carry such a gorgeous vibrational energy. I said this to a guy once. I said, don't you feel like the energy of the mountains emulate the energy and the emotions of the town? And you can just look at the mountains and you can feel the energy of everyone around it reflected back at you, right? And he was like, I'm going to drop you off here by this mountain, and you can get one of those people that you're speaking of, and they can take you back into town. But I love the mountains, and I feel there's such special sacred energy there. And when I was looking at things I wanted to do, I saw there was this experience called the Painted Caves. And there were these cave drawings from these ancient Indians, Native Americans, and there was a big painting of a lunar eclipse. Now, as an astrologist, I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to go to this cave. I'm going to see the lunar eclipse. I'm going to reconnect with my people, because I bet I was like an Indian chief in my past life. So I'm going to go be in this cave, feel it. I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to put it on social media. And everyone's going to be like, yeah, like look at Danielle with her people. And so I get in the car, I put in the GPS, and I start to go up this mountain. My vision of this cave experience, right? That's going to be so epic and profound. And so I start to get in the car and I'm driving, and the mountain is a pretty steep mountain. And I'm starting to think, should I be doing this? Should I be going up this mountain right now? The turns are getting really steep here, and there's no guardrails. And I'm still kind of getting used to the idea of having a car again after living in New York City. Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I noticed my mind was starting to come in and starting to give me all these reasons why I shouldn't go do the thing that I wanted to do. And so my mind is going off, and finally I get to a space where I'm like, just listen to your music. It's okay. The universe has got your back. We're going up this mountain. You're going to go see your people in the cave, and it's going to be great. Then the 2 lanes of the mountain turn to 1 lane, and we're still going up this thing, and I'm like, oh shit, it's 1 lane now. Like, again, should I be doing this? Should I keep moving up? And my mind's like, Danielle, turn around, turn around. And I'm like, how am I even going to turn around? Like, am I going to back up this mountain? And I'm just like, it's too late now. You're invested in this. You're invested in your vision. You've got to go. So then I'm like championing myself, right? I'm like, you've got this. Like, you can do this. You're a spiritual warrior, right? Like, totally championing myself. I'm picturing these angel wings on the back of my car, and we're just like flying up the mountain, right? And so we're doing this, and all of a sudden, a UPS truck starts to come down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I was like, I thought we were just joking about that whole, like, you were gonna like fall off the mountain thing. And now it really could be happening. This could be it. I could be falling off the side of the road. I told nobody that I was going on this excursion, right? And they're just gonna be like, what was she thinking? And all of it. And I went to that space of mind, go away. Not now. Universe, take care of me. And if by magic, this little patch of land just opened up and I was able to drive to that patch, let the UPS truck go through, all right, back at it. So I continue to journey up again, and I see a sign that looks like it should be these painted caves, but again, my big picture vision, I was like, oh, this isn't big enough. So I keep driving anyway. Like, my mind's like, no, that's not for you. So I keep driving up this mountain. It starts to open up again. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think, I'm back into town again. I think I missed the painted caves. And I look at my phone. There's no GPS reception. So I'm like, all right, well, I don't have that connection, but I still got this connection. Let's see what we can do here. So I was able to turn around and go back to the spot where the caves were, and I was like, okay, I guess this is it, right? Because again, in our mind, we want things to be, we have a vision sometimes, and we want to get to the place where we're like, this vision is amazing, this vision is great, I'm in it, this is what I'm going to do. In this case, it was the painted caves. In other cases, it could be a career change, right? Or a weight loss goal, or whatever it is. We're like, yes, I'm going to do this, and we feel it in the moment. But as we're doing it, all of a sudden, these roadblocks start to come up. 2 lanes wide into 1 lane. The turns get a little bit turnier. Right? You lose connection a little bit. You lose sight of the rules and the regulations. And the mind starts to be like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Or maybe this isn't the way that you thought it was going to be. So I get to this place, it's this little patch on the road. And on here, I was thinking it was going to be this thing like Disneyland, where there's going to be like a parking lot and, come in and buy your ticket. And there's going to be like, people dressed up as like Indian chiefs, like ready to like hug me and take my picture, right? And it was just this little sideshow thing. And so I start to enter it, and again, I see where the entrance should be. My mind is like, no, it's not big enough. What your vision wasn't big enough, so let's try to figure something else out here. Let's try to control the situation. Let's rely on your own strength. So I see this trail, and there's these rocks, and I'm like, I'm going to climb up that trail, and I bet you the cave is up there. And so I start to climb up the rocks. And again, I'm by myself, no GPS reception. Nobody knows that I'm doing this. And then I'm starting to get into that space. Was it a good idea to just go on an adventure by myself? Should I have been doing that? Is that practical? Why, and then I start going into my like romantic status. I'm like, well, why are you still single? Like, why don't you have a man to drive the car for you and take you to the cave and be on these rocks with you and say, come, like, I'll get you. I've got you, my Indian princess. We've got this, right? So my mind is like going to all these places. And again, my inner voice of knowing is like, Danielle, get back down the rocks. The cave's over there. Just go in there and experience it. So I was like, all right. So I go back down the rocks, find where the cave was, and there's a gate over it. It was closed that day. That was an opportunity where my mind was like, see, the one time you could have used me to check the times and you didn't. But, I was able to kind of put my phone through the gate and peer in and see a little bit of that lunar eclipse experience. And, my takeaway from it was, we can go on these adventures on our own and it's allowed, it's okay. So often when we have a vision, when we have something we want to do, there are times where other people may not understand it, or they may not be on board with it. And what happens is people have to catch up to your visions. People have to catch up to your dreams. And so sometimes that means you're going to have to be solo, and you're going to have to navigate it yourself. And you're going to have to notice when your mind is getting in your way. And you're going to also have to notice when that's happening, when you're relying on your own strength, when you're trying to control too much, and use that as an opportunity to say, I don't have to control so much. I don't have to rely on my own strength, because there's something greater than me that can also co-create. There's something bigger than my human self that is connected to my greatest vision and will help facilitate that forward. And so remember that when you have that adrenaline rush and you have that good juju and you know that there's something you want to accomplish and you're connected to that inner knowing, right? You want to go for it. And you want to realize that there are going to be challenges. There are going to be things that you didn't think about along the way. However, they're completely they completely have the ability to be navigated. And they also have the ability to allow you to realize that clarity comes with the action, right? The more that you take action, the more that you move through the things that you desire, the more clarity will actually come. And the less you have to realize or rely upon this inner mental strength, and again, can rely on this beautiful soul strength with this beautiful all-access VIP connection to your something greater. And so I encourage you to hold steady in the vision, stay in the excitement, welcome the challenges that come, welcome the things that come your way that you didn't realize were going to be so steep, right? Or you didn't think were going to present themselves as a challenge, but it's not an opportunity to give up. It's an opportunity to see, wow, my vision must be pretty big if I'm already hitting some roadblocks. It must be pretty freaking epic. So I'm going to keep climbing this mountain. I'm going to keep going to the top. I'm not going to back up. I'm not going to waste my energy trying to find a way out, but instead relax my energy so I can welcome in a way deeper to what it is that I desire, and trust that the people and their stories and whatever it may be, they'll eventually catch on to what you're doing. They'll eventually catch up. They'll eventually start to understand what your vision is. But in the meantime, don't worry so much if they're speaking your language or not. And instead, I invite you to just explore that conversation and that language that you have with your soul. So let's take another moment to close our eyes. Feet on the ground. Rolling our shoulders back again. Heart opening up, activating that Care Bear stare once more. And go back to that space where your inner knowing, not the voice that thinks, but the voice that knows, and place your loving hand over it. And once again, remind yourself that this voice is keeping you safe. This voice is your security. This is your stability. This is not going to let you just let life pass you by, but instead allow you to expand, allow you to feel true joy, and allow you to be taken care of as you live a life beyond your most wildest dreams. So breathe into that space, hold the energy, sending it gratitude and love. And as you release the breath out, trust that a currency, a momentum has been created, and your dreams have been activated, and everything you need going forward will come to fruition. Gently opening your eyes. Thank you all so much. Thank you.